We're rolling.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Nerdbuzzed.
Nerdbuzzed doesn't condone the consumption of alcohol by any persons under the age of 21. Please drink responsibly.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to Nerdbuzzed.
The podcast where we talk about all the nerdy stuff that we care about and drink a cool frosty brew while we're doing it. I'm your host, Marcus Ellinger. With me as always,
Jeremiah Johnson.
And back once again. He could not stay away. He loved it so much. The beast himself, Justin Curry.
You did have fun, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, clearly, right? Are your restraints still? Yeah, okay. He's still restrained.
I'm still tied down.
He's still stuck there.
You're safe.
Okay. So, we're going to... There's no rules. This is an after party, so we don't care. Apparently, I'm going to watch Netflix on my phone.
Okay.
Nobody cares about anything. Rules are out the window for this episode. So we're just going to drink whatever beer we want and talk about cars. We're going to keep going with cars because these two clearly have a bunch to say about cars. But before we dive into all of that, please go to Patreon, please. And we just get yourself some swag. Some Nerdbuzzed swag for $35. Do it. And also, follow us on Facebook. You can join our Nerdbuzzed Nerds group there. You can chat with us on Twitter, at Nerdbuzzed. And if you subscribe and comment, then you could be fan of the month. And if you're fan of the month, you could win a free t-shirt. So that's super cool. Do it. Do it, do it, do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. So,
Please, in odd numbers.
yes. And play the Nerd Play and watch the anime. Do all that good stuff. And now we don't care. We're going to talk about cars. And I do have a couple questions, so you guys have to at least tolerate me
Oh, that's fine.
asking a few questions.
Gotta
You're
keep,
gonna
gotta keep
leave
you in
that
here
after,
somewhere.
right?
Yeah, right? Yeah, make me involved somehow.
Now he's
please.
gonna watch Netflix. Didn't you see him already booting it up?
Yeah, I'm just going to watch some anime over here and chime in from time to time. So I do have a question because I think it's pretty obvious, at least I'm sure there's little girls out there too, but for little boys, cars are like super fascinating. Like as forever, as we've grown
Yeah.
up, it's like one of the things we just gravitate to. There's on the table here, I have some of my standout favorites, some of my favorite shows when I was a kid. Things that made them extra cool was because they had a kick-ass car in the show, right? Like Ecto 1 from Ghostbusters. That made Ghostbusters cool.
That was.
Right? It would not be as cool without Ecto 1.
I mean, I wanted a Cadillac before then, but yeah.
Right? How about like Knight Rider? Like Knight Rider was dope because the car was sick. Also, you got to
it was
admire
clever.
Hasselhoff.
He
The car
was sarcastic.
Clever, but I mean, yeah, I've never had an '80s F body, but yeah.
Yeah. You didn't think Knight Rider was a cool show as a kid? It's not simulator enough.
I didn't. we didn't. Okay, so I didn't have a lot of television as a kid. I didn't have television until actually when you and I met. I didn't have television.
Like when we first met.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. My parents didn't believe in television.
Weird. It existed.
survive?
How did they...
I saw television on at my grandparents' house, which is where either at my grandmother's, my parents' mother's house, or my mother's place. Which I did spend a lot of time with my mother's parents because I was sick a lot as a kid, and my little sister was very susceptible to what I had. So I spent the bulk of my childhood there. But they'd only let me watch Disney, so that was with the people in Winnie the Pooh costumes.
Yeah, and not many cars. In
Wasn't
Disney.
a lot of cars.
How about what was it? Love Bug.
I actually worked on
Herbie,
cars.
yeah.
as a
Herbie.
kid.
What
That
is
was-
Herbie? You never
I
saw Herbie?
remember Herbie.
I
But
loved Herbie when I was a kid. I really did.
I was never a fan of the Beetle.
Ooh.
It had charisma.
Is it a good thing I'm sitting between you now?
No, so I think we totally figured out where my love of Volkswagen came from. So when I was a little kid, my parents got me this plastic toy car from Tomy, and we called it the Tommy car, and it was totally a Volkswagen Beetle. And that was the car that I wore out. Ground the tires off, all the stickers were worn off of it. I just beat the crap out of this little car, putting miles around the house.
Yeah.
And it was I really think that's where my love of Beetle really started. Because I didn't ever thought about it. I didn't even think about it when I started, growing up. I've always liked the Beetles. The Type 3 wagon's actually my favorite. I love those. But
Like the squareback?
yeah, squareback wagon. That's my favorite freaking Volkswagen car.
Yeah,
ever.
they're out there. Are they rear engine?
Yes.
Like they put the engine under the bed?
They're the pancake engine. So yeah, they got the one with the fan that's out in front of the pulley, and then it's got the ducting that goes back sideways instead of.
Because it was a hatchback, so what do they do for space? Like, where is that all underneath the bed?
That's all underneath that little deck there. Like I said, it's pretty tight back in there.
I remember one of our buddy's sister's boyfriends had a modified squareback.
Yeah, see, I almost want a 410 because you get the Type 4 motor that way, which I love that motor. But it's a too big of a car, if that makes sense.
At the time, it was.
Well, yeah.
Can you take
I'm not talking
that motor
about
and
the
put it in
Dodge
a
Sport. I'm
smaller
talking
car?
the 410 Volkswagen wagon. So what was it?
Can you put it in a smaller car?
So yes, you can. It takes a lot of extra tin work because the way they seal and the way the heat works and all that, because they're air cooled. Ducting and sealing is of paramount importance. It needs to either be ducted and sealed off from top to bottom completely, or it needs to be cut completely away and out in the open. So that's hence your sand rails and dune buggies, or traditional.
Yeah.
Hence the reason that's why I'm running out with without a deck lid on my car right now is because of heating issues.
Oh, we should be able to fix that.
Yeah, but I don't want to.
Do you guys have a favorite fictional car?
Favorite fiction? Oh, that's right. That was a question. It is a good
Fictional
question.
car.
I thought about that one for a long time.
Ooh.
I already have my answer.
Well, let's hear it.
Almost like anything from Mad Max, but if I had to choose, it'd probably be the, I think it was a Cadillac on the tank treads. You guys would probably know more. Remember in Fury Road, the guy, the bullet guy, with the guns, he got his eyes shot out. He had the car that was on the tank treads. That's how he could get through the swamp.
I think we can summarize it by just Mad Max.
Yeah. Okay, I do gotta say that the original Mad Max Interceptor is probably one of my most favorite cars.
Wasn't that just a modified Mustang too?
No, it was a Maverick. It was a Ford
Wasn't
Maverick.
that
It was
just a modified Mustang too?
It was a shorter wheelbase. It had a shorter hatch on it, and then it was it was a Mustang 2 body, and then it had the what was that brand? 60s. It was the clutched supercharger.
Like a, I want to say Whiffle? No, that's not it.
It's not a Whipple. It's a
Whipple. That's right.
It's a V8.
Yeah,
That's all that matters.
Wow, he's got that accent down.
Last of the V8s.
Yeah.
V8. That's all I'm looking
But yeah,
for.
that was no, totally okay, I probably have to go with that. That's
Let's
pretty
go
freaking badass.
for a
Mad
ride.
Max one.
Yeah, the original Interceptor from Mad Max.
I think clearly with my affinity for the Man in Tights, I have to say the Batmobile.
Yeah.
It's just it's
Which
loaded
one?
with
one?
gadgets.
Yeah, which one?
Okay. I like them all. Okay, that's not
Christopher
true.
Nolan. All
That's-
right, so we got the Christopher Nolan.
That's not
Tumblr.
true. I like 89 Batmobile from the Tim Burton movie. And all the rest of the Batmobiles after that can suck it. I like the one from the Adam West Batmobile. I think that's
That
classic
one is
and awesome.
too long. It's like, how are you supposed to turn?
It's so great, and that fits with the show. I actually
roundabout?
watched.
That
watched
model there is proportionally correct.
Yeah, it's awesome. I actually watched an episode of that
17 miles long.
with Kristen
1
last
mile
night.
wide.
She'd never seen an episode.
She hadn't?
I've never noticed that in that show the camera is never straight. It's always cockeyed. There's never a
it's-
scene where the
if you-
camera
if-
is straight.
if you look at a lot of
except
the
for when
old-
they're not Batman. When they're Batman and Robin, it's always crooked.
If you ever look at a lot of the old
Because they're insane.
comic panels,
Yeah.
though, they would be a rectangular panel, but the comic scenes would be square panels, but they'd be a diagonal divider between them. If you look at a lot of your old comic books, are done that way.
Is the image itself?
No, the
Filtered?
image itself isn't.
Yeah.
Is,
Well,
is
in the whole
filtered.
episode, the image
No,
is.
I get
tipped.
that, but I wonder
Yeah.
if that's what they're going for.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
With the
to add
cameras.
to that effect, yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the animated series Batmobile too. That's the other one that's
Yeah.
also money. So there's like 3 or 4.
I was also
Not
going
all.
to say, I don't know if this counts as a car, maybe just a vehicle. Axle from Twisted Metal, if you don't know who that is. It's just 2 giant wheels with a guy basically looking like Jesus on the cross in between
Yeah,
them.
just between them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, with like metal hands. That is the coolest thing. That and Sweet Tooth, because
That poor guy though can't do anything.
Well,
does
he
he
can
come?
turn.
Does he come out of there, or is he
Oh,
just
no, he's
forever
stuck there
in
forever.
there? Yeah,
But
yeah.
he's
That's
ripped,
his
dude.
lot in life. Yeah.
Where he can close it, and then he can do like his ultimate, where he like turns into a big wheel and just combines the wheels, and then he has like spikes on him. And he was my favorite character in the newest Twisted Metal.
So have you ever seen the physics of how monowheel cycles work and stuff?
I want one so bad, but
Have you ever watched it? So you watch guys when they build them, because this is the thing that exists. These giant monowheel motorcycles, people build them and they ride them. Look at the physics and how they're testing them and how they get going when they start them and stop.
Yeah.
And don't stop too fast. Don't stop too fast.
It's like having only a front brake. Yeah.
I mean, I would totally be into having one day.
The nail in the tire is you.
Yeah, yeah. What about your guys'? What was your very first car that you ever had?
Oh, it's
Wait, they didn't even
unfortunate.
say their favorites.
Yeah, they did. Didn't
they
you
did?
say?
I guess I didn't really have one.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't have one. He doesn't count. He's the exception to the rule.
Wow.
I'll
The Outlaw Star.
give you one.
The Outlaw Star is my favorite vehicle. No.
Yeah, yeah.
In the early 80s, there was a James Bond movie with a Lotus that went underwater, just like the car in GTA.
Yes.
Except for the fact that for some reason it's a Countach lookalike in GTA.
Yeah.
And
it's
the
great, though.
Lotus does something else. I can't remember. Oh, the Lotus is the car that I have. It just has guns.
Yeah.
But you liked that the James Bond could go underwater.
I didn't like that it could go underwater. That's just my favorite car that was fictional, because Lotus has never been able to go underwater.
Okay. Fair enough. Now,
Are you saying they're sealed so well they float forever?
You know, Graham Chapman designed a chassis for that, or designed a frame for that car that that probably would be the best, because there's the least amount of metal in it. It's
Okay.
the I-beam.
Okay.
It uses just a single piece in the middle and just a front and a back,
Okay.
instead of having, two frame rails that run the length
Yeah,
of the car or anything like that.
I realize that.
So I just always liked the way that they looked.
And isn't that the Esprit?
Yeah, the Esprit, the
Yeah,
original
Esprit.
Esprit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The wedge
Okay.
car.
It
I was
counts.
pretty happy with that, and it went underwater, but it also had ski racks.
Yeah.
It had ski racks for going up into the mountains. This car went anywhere, and it was a rear-wheel drive only, and it was a sports car, and it was set up as a sports car, a real sports car. And then a little BS where you have to take a walk for 3 weeks to find the gear lever, and then come back and shift into second. And everything's where it should be.
Okay.
Good cars.
Wasn't Lotus the one that coined the definition of a sports car?
Which is?
I can't remember. Look it up.
I would have thought the Jag would have done that.
Well,
Might have been Jag.
Well, what was your first cars? I'm curious to know what everybody's first car that you had was.
My first car was a 78 1500 GMC flatbed.
Wow.
With a 350 and an automatic.
This was like the first car.
It was orange and cream.
Huh. So it's not a car.
No, it was a pickup.
Yeah, yeah.
That it had it was very temperamental to start, which is why when the shop burned down when we were 14 years old, it didn't make it out.
I also like that your first car was a car that you had before you were even able to drive.
No. Legal to drive.
Yeah.
Able and legal are two totally different.
Yeah. Before you had a license, when you had your first car. That says a lot. I was not that way. I did not have a car until after I had my license.
The first car I drove to school wasn't really my car. It was the car that my mother purchased when I was born in '81. And if you remember Tony's brown wagon?
Yes, I do.
You ever remember a cream yellow wagon? Same car, parked right next to it?
Yes.
That was
yes,
mine.
I do. Ah, nice. Nice. My first
We
car?
did a lot of, you know what I do on Grand Theft Auto, where I just sit there doing the same goddamn thing over and over again. We did that in these cars all the time.
Nice.
This car always won because it didn't have air conditioning. But
So I got the first sports car Apparently, it was the 1910 Prince Henry.
No, the quote for what makes a sport car. Whose quote it was.
Oh, that's. Oh God, well.
I think it was Lotus is the one that coined it.
What car coined sports cars?
What the quote that defines what defines sports car?
Okay, I'll go back into.
Look it up again.
Yeah,
Fail.
You might
Fail.
just be able to wiki sports car.
Yeah, maybe. But
I already did that.
so that was yours, huh?
A wagon. I learned to
Come
drive
on,
in a
man.
wagon.
I already did that.
My
It's
first
the
car,
first thing that I did.
1977 avocado green Chevy Monza with a tan interior.
I like the Monza.
It was a town coupe though, so I had the trunk.
Oh.
Yeah, it was nice, and the vinyl top.
But you could drop a 454 into a Monza if you wanted.
You could. Did I? No.
Yeah.
I was running on 3 cylinders. I could get out and run.
Theoretically, you could drop a 454 in either one
Like
of
you
those
were
Civic
running
wagons, but we didn't do that either.
Yeah.
But
Like you could you were running 3 cylinders in a 4-cylinder.
I was running 3 cylinders in a 4-cylinder. It was an already anemic 4-cylinder to begin with, and an automatic.
Oh, nice. All the best
Ooh,
things
yeah, that
you can
kills
want.
it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that your parents would have let you had your first vehicle be an automatic.
My dad is the most avid automatic.
No kidding. I would
kidding.
not have guessed
No,
that.
he
And
is
boat rear-wheel drive cars.
he's all about rear-wheel drive, which I agree with 100%. I think everybody's first car should be rear-wheel drive. I think everybody's first car should be manual transmission, and I think it should be a pile of turds. So you have to learn how to maintain and work on a vehicle and appreciate the work that goes into owning a vehicle.
You know what else I think everybody's first car should be? Not given to them.
No,
I
I did have to buy my car.
Yeah.
I didn't get to choose it. I was told that's the car I was going to have, and that I had to purchase it.
Yeah,
But-
that's even more intense. That's the
Yes.
next level. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I did buy my own first
Drive
car.
this gremlin and like it.
Yeah. The first car I ever actually had that
Vega, not Gremlin. But anyway, I get what you're saying.
The Vega was sporty. The gremlin was not.
No. Also a completely different manufacturer. But whatever.
No, yeah.
Gremlins? What?
Okay, the Vega was a direct competitor to the Gremlin. And also the Pinto.
God.
But
Back to earlier.
we all know
yeah,
the
I couldn't
Pinto's the
find
one that was the
answer.
best. So,
fail.
No one definitively knows.
Double fail.
God.
No one knows the
It's a
answer.
mystery forever.
Don't bless any of those vehicles. None of them deserve any blessings whatsoever.
we got the Lima 4-cylinder out of the Pinto. Seriously, no.
The low compression.
We got the Lima 4-cylinder. The Ford Lima 4-cylinder.
What's a Lima? What's the Lima Ford cylinder?
The Lima engine is the Ford 2-liter. Started out as a 1.8 in the Escort in Europe. Never made it to the U.S. And then when they brought it to the U.S., they brought it to the U.S. in the 2-liter version of the Pinto.
Wow.
Yes.
Really?
And then that's what's now the 2.3, which they've evolved into. It's that fact there's dirt track racing circuits that are focused on that engine.
Weren't those engines like 7-to-1 compression ratio? Like you could have a full family living in the cylinder walls and they wouldn't get hurt if you were running the engine.
Which is probably why they were bulletproof motors.
Yeah, they were. You'd strip the timing belt out of them and just ka-king, jump it back on, and the thing drove out of the parking lot.
Yep.
But yeah,
Great motors. I mean,
there's a lot of metal for 60 horsepower.
But like I said, the Escort in the 1.8 was one of the most dominant rally cars of the day era. They later replaced it with the 2.3 liter version in the Sierra, which I actually have the American version of that car in the XR4 Ti
With the wings.
with the biplane wing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get the front end off of one of those.
Front end off of what?
One of the Sierras.
No. Okay. So what people do, they take my other favorite car that I've ever had, and it looks amazing, is they put a Mark III Jetta bumper on it.
Oh yeah, you showed me that. But that doesn't take care of the headlight and grill problem.
Okay, so you get the RS500 grill, and then that gives you room to put pretty much any dual headlight in there. A lot of guys are putting BMW dual side-by-side headlights on them. The square ones, not the round ones.
Oh, okay.
My car's got dual headlights. It's got
It's like two.
Yeah,
They
it's
mean
got
4.
two.
They mean 4, like dual.
Oh, dual plurals.
Yeah. Dual.
So what if you had 6 headlights? What would that be?
That's a dual.
I don't know. insane,
Triple headlights, or was that just 3 headlights?
needless.
Triple
I'd say
headlight.
that would be
what those
5 years
are?
into the future.
What those are fog lights.
Oh, okay.
That's what happens. When you have
That's
those.
when they just
Actually-
take 3 headlights and crush them together, and then
Actually, the new the new JL Wranglers with the halo or with the LED lighting has a halo LED ring. Then the standard high-low beams inside that, and then the fenders have a running light as well.
So you're telling me that they're just taking all the ridiculous aftermarket BS that they're doing with the JKs and they're putting that on the new
Factory.
JL?
It's stock on the
Tell
new
me
ones.
that they're not putting the Angry Birds grill on it.
Oh fuck no,
Please.
no! I hate the Angry Birds. Other than on that
There's
Liberty,
nothing that tells me that you know nothing more about cars than the guy at the gas station than putting the Angry Birds grill on your Jeep.
what? Like it
Angry
just,
Eyes. Just look up JK Angry Eyes.
Oh, okay.
Just type in JK
Jack's
space
got a lot of
Angry Eyes.
looking
You've
up
got it.
this episode. You want to hear what my
Wicky's
first car was?
burning up.
Do you
I'm
care?
actually
Do you
kind
guys
of jealous of
Do you
your
guys care what my first car was? My first real car that was not a car that I drove because it was my parents' car they didn't use.
Yeah,
right?
your first.
Oh, then
personal
I
car.
need to retake my Honda statement then. But
Okay, what is your
Mine-
first?
yours is the Super, right?
Mine was the '82 Supra
know, I'm
that
kinda
jealous. Sweet.
my dad's friend had, and it literally sat in his yard long enough to where there were parts where there were holes in the floorboards and grass was growing through them, and it was that car, right?
Who lets an inline-6 rear-wheel drive sports car sit? Who
don't know.
does that? That
I know,
runs.
right?
That runs. I could get milk in it.
When it was running, it was
No,
it was
I'm
awesome.
I'm going to take my Ford Ranger.
That was a one
That's
JZ
what.
though.
That's
now.
probably what he was driving too. It
does that?
when it
To be
ran.
fair though, that was a
it
single
was awesome.
overhead cam version though.
I don't care. It's
know.
an inline-6 in
I
a
know.
Japanese vehicle that's rear-wheel drive. You know what? How much that thing would be worth if you still had it?
I don't know. If you
7,
could
8
start
grand.
it,
Or
right?
if an RV didn't crash into it?
That was my later car. I've had so many cars and wrecked so many of them.
I thought it was the original.
No, that one had this weird issue in it. The Supra did, where if you let it get warm and you drove it somewhere, you either had to hang out there for 2 hours
Oh, it had vapor
or
Vapor lock, yeah.
yeah, whatever. Well, I tried to get it fixed. Nobody could figure out what it was, or you just left it running in the parking lot. Those were your two options.
Definitely vapor lock.
Yeah, I went to the grocery store and I would. It also had something wrong with the ignition, so you could just pull the key out and it didn't matter and it would stay running, which was really convenient for its vapor lock issue because I could just pull the key out, lock my car up, leave it running in the parking lot, do whatever shopping, and come
Nothing,
back
it's
out.
just
and
cooling
go.
off.
Yeah. There were a
alone.
few times I'd show up at a friend's house and they'd come in and hey bro, you left your car on, it did you solid and turned it off, and I was like, no, I was ready to leave. Now I'm here for 2 hours and you're here. Great. So that was my first car.
Nice.
It was fun. It was an automatic though. I was bummed about that because
Most of them were. Most of your Supers, the inline sixes were that way. Which
I didn't know it was an automatic.
the Celica Supers, most of them were automatics. It's a hard time finding them.
Really? I didn't know
I've
that.
been-
Every
I've been-
single one that I've ever seen. Like the Supers of the later 80s. There
Okay,
are a
see,
lot
the
of them.
Mark II, the Mark II Supra, which is the one that I want in the worst way. I'm having a hard. I've been looking for them for off and on here and there for about 4 years now, and every single time I find one, it seems to be an automatic.
The turbos are often automatics. Like if it's affordable and it's
yeah.
a turbo, it's an automatic.
Yeah.
That's
To be fair,
guaranteed.
they have all been turbos that I've been looking at because that's the one I want. Even though
with the turbo, I don't think the adjustable suspension is an option. I think it's there, which kind of blows. You have to go over to the Bilstein mechanical adjustables.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh
unless you want to spend $800
No,
for
no.
a
no,
really lousy shock.
no. I know what you're talking about. But I was like, no, I did not know that. That was the only option. Interesting.
I thought it was. Don't quote me on it, but yeah, you could replace the factory shocks with a set of KW coilovers, and you'd be way better off.
Yeah. No, the KWs are freaking awesome, but
Yeah. So far, everybody that I know who has KWs just loves them.
another amazing thing about
Unless you have to send them in.
I say another amazing thing about Bilstein though is the fact you can send them to their California plant. They will revalve them and send them back to you without any. I mean, it's like $15 a freaking shock.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you much. And,
Yeah, I
and
wish
you,
Coney did that.
And you call them up and tell them, said, hey, I'm sending you these. This is what I want done. It's like awesome. We'll write a ticket for you. You send it in. Write the ticket number on it when you send it in. You know, it depends on what time of year you're doing it. I mean, if it's middle of race season, obviously they're not going to get it to you right away because they've got people that are paying them a lot more money for racing purposes.
These are all reasons why you guys drive like assholes. They totally are. I've never done anything like that to my car ever. The only performance thing I've ever done on my
So
car
what you're
is
saying
maybe
is
change
that
the
because
exhaust.
we know about the machines that we purchased, we are actually educated
Yes.
in regards to the machines of which we purchased.
But not only that, but,
makes us
but
assholes.
you
It doesn't just
intentionally...
make the rest of the world incompetent for handling a machine that they should have never bought in the first place and just take the goddamn bus.
No. It's you guys, is what it is. And
Is it
I've
only
never...
we're the minority? Just because we're a minority, we're wrong?
Yes. Yes, that is part of it, yes.
We're
But-
in Washington State.
I've never owned a car where my objective was ever to, like, what can I change on this thing? Like, I've never really done that.
So you've never owned a car. The car has
guess.
always owned you.
That's
I
never-
guess, yeah.
I've never purchased a car with the intention of saying what can I put on it.
It just always turns into that.
Well, it's like, what's its fault?
Yeah.
Like, and something gets irritating to me to the point where I need to fix it. Or if I'm building it for a purpose track car, then yeah. But if I'm building it for a purpose track car, I already know everything.
So have you guys ever bought a car where you were totally satisfied with it the way it was, and you didn't have to go in and change something? I think that's a no.
I don't think I've ever owned a car that I haven't changed anything on. No.
1994 Subaru Legacy Turbo. Did you ever ride in that thing?
Yeah.
You remember
And you
that
never
car?
did any tweaking on
I
that?
never tweaked. I mean, I had to put a nitrous oxide fuel line in for the clutch throwout, but that's because I couldn't find any other part that would bolt into it, and I was in the middle of the Nevada desert.
Yeah.
88 Toyota Corolla.
And you didn't change anything?
Didn't change a damn thing on it.
Has to be the last of the rear wheel drives if you liked
No.
it.
Nope, it's front wheel drive.
ahead,
I was at
explain yourself.
I was at the parts store. The kid
Wait,
that was
do I know this story?
You know this story. The kid that was working in the parts store passed out drunk behind the wheel, drove it through a state fence, ripped the freaking mirrors off, pulled a fence post through the side of the car, opened it up like a can opener. Got parked outside with the windows cracked, so it rained inside the car even. It was just gross. He needed money for the court date that he had. And I just happened to be at the parts store when he was on the clock, by the way, at my job.
Yeah.
For the parts store. And he goes, dude, I need some money to go to the parts store, man. I don't know what's going on. Or for the court date, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, well, dude, I've only got $150 on me. He's like, oh, dude, would you be able to loan me? I said, I ain't going to loan you the money, dude. Said, what do you got? What about that car back there? Okay. So he hops on his little bicycle, rides on, well, he's working the parts store.
Yeah. This is
Hops
all
on it-
on the clock.
Hops on his bicycle, rides halfway across town to his house. Gets
the title, huh?
Gets the title. Rides back. Signs the title over me right there. So from there, I hop in the car, run it down the street to the licensing office, get into the office, and I'm like, yeah, I bought this car for $150. I want to go ahead and transfer the title. And he goes, well, our records show that car's worth $3,000, and you're going to have to pay tax on $3,000. And I step aside to it, I was like, for that? And she's all perfect. Old lady, freaking, think of the receptionist in Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Those type of glasses and everything. Leans forward, pulls the glasses down. Oh, hun, you overpaid. It was great. I loved that car. I didn't put a single dime into it. I jumped it. I freaking was the total asshole driver.
Yeah.
Playing hockey in the parking lot with somebody else who didn't care about their car with a shopping
Beach
cart.
ball? Oh.
Oh, yeah. Even better, a shopping cart. Yeah.
Well, we
It was
always
great.
went out
I
to the
loved
soccer
it.
fields out at the fairgrounds. One of us would have a beach ball, and we'd play soccer.
That'd work too. We were just sending a shopping cart back and forth across the parking.
That's great for paint.
Oh, yeah, right?
This
Yeah.
car was awesome. So, the road going out of town, coming around past the fairgrounds, then you come down and make that left, and then it turns right again, and it's a descending right-hand corner turn.
The one down the Woodbridge?
Past the Woodbridge.
Okay.
Yep. So is that descending right turn past the Woodbridge there? The shocks were so far gone on this car that when you just even barely turn the wheel. Whoa! The tire's hitting the fender well.
Jesus.
Did I not tell you I jumped it a few times?
Yeah.
I jumped my Civic a whole bunch of times, though, and it actually, I tore a hole in the oil pan, but that was an easy fix.
Yeah.
It actually never destroyed the geometry of the Honda.
No, I never destroyed the geometry. I never knocked it out. It just was that... The shocks were that gone, that blown out. I was on springs total only. Mm-hmm. And being a just standard everyday passenger car, the springs were very weak to begin with. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I turned this corner. I wasn't even going that fast. Probably faster than posted, but I was not faster than the posted speed limit, but the rated speed for the corner.
Yeah.
The little yellow signs, not the white ones.
I think you might still get a ticket for that.
No, you don't.
No.
You can't get a ticket for that?
Nope.
If you're on like a 60-mile-an-hour road and they're like, but we recommend you go 30
If it's
through
raining
this
or
corner.
snowing out, you can get a too fast for conditions ticket.
Yes.
So if you're an asshole on like a 60-mile-an-hour road that has like a warning 20-mile-an-hour turn and you're just doing your business to
As long as you don't
60.
exceed 60, you're fine.
Let me put it to you this way. I haven't had that ticket since I put my Porsche in the ravine.
Anyway, that corner.
Again, this is
was
why
si-
you guys drive like assholes.
That was
you don't,
16 years
you
old.
don't follow. When I see the yellow sign, I'm like, maybe I should slow down. When you guys are like, that's a challenge.
Maybe
Challenge
I shouldn't have fun
accepted.
anymore.
So anyway, here I am in a 50-mile-an-hour road, taking the corner at 50 mile an hour, or 55. Turning the corner, and all of a sudden I hear whoom as the tire hits the fender, and all of a sudden I hear whoom. Turn that tire into the pivot point, and I brake.
God.
So here I am helicoptering in the air towards the freaking bank. I end up backwards against the bank. I slap it into reverse, floor it, down into the ditch, up onto the road, J-turn it back straight, and keep going.
Wow.
You madman. You legend.
Yeah. Right?
It was
See,
freaking
maybe
awesome.
there's a benefit, because maybe if he didn't drive, like a douche all the time, he wouldn't have been able to do such
That's
a
true.
crazy trick.
Oh,
like
no.
that.
It was freaking awesome.
I think that there's a lot of truth in these statements. Yes. But none of it changes the fact that they drive like assholes. I've rode with them both. And sometimes I'm like this in the car. Are we almost there?
I'm
still
I'm a friend
alive.
that
I
drives
have
like
to
that.
say, then you have less balls than my wife. Because she doesn't. She drives with me. She won't drive.
You know why your wife has so many balls? Because she's got yours in her purse.
All right, I can't argue.
That is a true statement and a half. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Wait, what, just...
She's got them in a jar on the shelf.
Yeah.
But I can't lose them.
She can.
She won't.
Yeah, she won't. She's not losing any of that.
I know.
She cares more about them than I do.
He says with tears in his eyes.
Yeah, I'm crying a little bit.
I've done some asshole.
So that's
driving.
our first cars.
Yeah, right. That's the first guys. Have you guys
No, I need
owned?
to take my first one back. If we're not talking about our parents' cars that we drove.
Yeah.
Because mine was then my Porsche, my 924,
Oh, okay.
the brown car.
Nice.
The which you like raced all out and did all that too, right? That
I didn't
one.
do no. Oh yeah,
The other-
I've
'cause
only-
that was a brown-
I guess
was that
I've had two
brown?
I want a
Porsches.
944.
So my first was a 924. It was a 1981, and it was flat brown, not metal brown, metal flake brown like the 81 911. But that was a great car, and that's the one that I took off the cliff.
That's the 16 Candles car.
Like the movie.
No, he had a 944.
Was it a 44? Okay.
It was a red 944.
Yeah.
I only know that just
Did it
so
have the
everybody
weird,
knows because
ugly
my
lights
wife
that rolled
maybe
forward?
watched that movie recently. But
Did it have those weird lights, the ugly ones that like rolled up and forward?
no, that was a 968 that I had.
You had a 968?
Yeah,
Nice.
it was a convertible.
Oh.
Not nice.
The non-convertible is really rare, though.
Just so
Very
anybody
hard to find.
knows, anybody who drives convertible Porsches, everybody else who doesn't drive convertible Porsches but drives coupe Porsches knows that you're less of a Porsche guy than they are.
Okay.
They're an
Don't
asshole
buy a
driver
convertible
for a
Porsche.
So
totally
what you
different
just
reason.
said there, and from my understanding from Porsche people, the only Porsche person I've ever met, if it's not part of the 911 series cars, the rear engine, 2-seater hot rod
Oh no,
cars,
they're 4-seater. I mean,
Oh, okay. You know what I mean.
yeah, you'd have to cut him in half, and then he'd fit.
But you know what I mean, though. If they're not part of the 911 series, which what are they up to now? They're like
901, I think, is the new one.
whatever. Anyway, if they're that style car, you're not a Porsche driver.
Now I call that bullshit because, sorry.
Well, you talk to any true Porsche enthusiast and you say, "Hey, I have a Boxer." Oh no, you're not a Porsche driver.
That's not. See, I don't think that's a Porsche enthusiast because that's
So
just
I was
somebody
part
who
of a-
saw a car that they liked growing up, and then they finally worked at Microsoft long enough to be able to afford one, and then they bought one, and now they think they're God.
So I was part of a
Totally different type
driving
of
club.
asshole.
Totally different type of asshole. Yeah.
I was part of a driving
didn't
club.
realize we could swear
This
on
driving club was primarily Porsches. It started out as a Porsche driving club, and they opened up and started allowing other vehicles in. But everybody that showed up in a Porsche, other than
A 911.
911 Porsche, was just considered lesser than. Other than one person that showed up in the 928 that was just weird.
Can I ask a weird Porsche question? Sure. Maybe you guys will know. It's kind of video game related. What is a roof? Or the roof?
Roof is a German tuner.
Yeah, like Spoon or Shelby or Roush or...
Because Gran Turismo used to have the Porsches in it, but they never called them the Porsche.
Yeah, they were the roof
Yeah,
because
they weren't Porsche.
Was that like a licensing issue that they
Porsche
had with
wouldn't
the game?
license it, yeah.
Alois Roof is a German guy who started a tuner shop in Germany in the... Actually, I think it was in the 70s. But it really wasn't until the mid-80s where he submitted this car to Road and Track that was a twin-turbo, ridiculously high-powered 911. And it just kicked the shit out of anything that anything that the Italians or the American supercar guys or American muscle car guys brought to the table. It's
pretty much
0 to 200 to 0. I think that's how it really made its debut. It was the first 0 to 200 to 0, and all of a sudden this 911 comes rolling in, and everybody's like, and it just smoked the crap out of everybody.
Yeah, it had that weird square wing in the rear. That was
Once
weird.
again, not wonderful for getting around corners. But the fact that you put the engine in the worst place in a car that you could put it,
Behind the axle.
you basically give the rear tires the freedom to do whatever. And
So
as
would
long
the-
as your
would the car
axles...
handle
Except
better
for
in
wheel,
reverse?
except for wheel hop.
Is that
No,
what you're
'cause-
basically saying?
In a 911, if you were to put all forward gears heading that way, you'd have a lot of oversteer. Ridiculously great. It'd be like trying to go on a racetrack in a swivel chair,
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that for drag racing, it's... I don't think that's what they were aiming for, but it just sort of worked out that way. When you put the power back there, you give the rear tires the freedom. You're making the rear tires the CEO of the company. And whatever they need to put down to the ground, they got it. We're taking that away from the front end.
Except-
We're taking that away from...
Except for when you're in a rear-wheel drive or rear-engined car. Not mid-engine, but rear-engine car like that. When the rear wheels break loose, they have some really funky wheel hop.
Well, most people are used, and that's another thing too. When a 911 breaks loose in the rear, you need to continue the power. The normal, natural reaction is to let off, and because the engine is so close to the transmission and powertrain, it translates very, very quickly. So if you let off the gas as your back end comes out in a 911, you're worse off than you were before. You're better off flooring it, because then the centrifugal force actually just gives all that power back to the rear tires, and you've got a chance of getting it to grip and rip out of it. The problem is where's your nose pointed at this moment? Because by this time, when all that crap's gone down, you might already be 47 feet into the cornfield.
Whose cornfield was that?
Yeah.
I never took a 911 into a cornfield. I'm trying to think if I've taken any Porsches into a cornfield. I think it's just been Hondas and Toyotas.
Okay. I don't worry with you.
I don't think I've ever taken a car into a cornfield.
I mean, they want to run on ethanol anyway, so.
Yeah.
Well, the cornfields were good when we were growing up because you basically whatever you did didn't matter.
Did you guys? One thing I was really good at was going through cars. Like I would just total cars.
Oh.
Yeah, I was pretty good at totaling cars.
I smacked up the Honda. Actually, just we weren't expecting the gates to be closed in the soccer field out there at the fairgrounds.
And that's where you totaled it?
I didn't total it, but like we whipped around I ripped around the corner, and I had a couple of buddies in the back and a buddy in the front, and we were just expecting those big black iron gates to be open, but they weren't. So I busted them open, and I was going so slow that they swung open, or they swung to a degree open, and somehow they came back shut again, and it smacked the back of the car. And at that point, my parents' the car that they had bought because I had just been born, and they needed a wagon, and they're moving forward in life, and they're,
Yeah.
I soiled it, basically. And this is long after I screwed up the scrape pan and the oil pan for the, jumping it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I was able to fix those without them noticing.
Yeah, this was the damage you couldn't hide.
Yeah, this was
Yeah.
damage I could not hide.
Yeah.
It was a black gate. It was a cream car. And it, there were skid marks up the side of the back of the car. And I buffed them out, but it was still the body panel.
Did they catch you in that act of buffing them
No,
out?
there was no hiding it. Like I parked on the right-hand side for maybe a week. And they figured it out. What the hell is this? Let me put it to you this way, Pops. You want me to make something up. You don't want me to tell you exactly what happened because you're just going to be disappointed.
Yeah, right.
You'd rather hear that I screwed up and actually hit somebody.
They got smacked in the ass by a gate you went through.
I broke into a fairground to
Yeah.
play soccer with cars.
That's pretty funny. One of my favorite Walter driving stories, though, was when we were like in
I know
our
this one.
in our adult friendship, right?
So
Because
this
we
is
kind of
recent?
we were friends. I think as kids and weren't really aware of it, and then we kind of did our own things as we grew up, and then we kind of came full circle and became friends again, right?
Yeah.
Just through happenstance and whatever. But one of the time that we really solidified that we were adult friends was when we got your old Ford stuck. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember we drank too much and we decided
Drink a
to.
lot. Oh, I mean, okay. So to be fair to anybody who's listening, we had just had a close friend die. You had just broken up with your long-term.
Yeah, we were
ex.
drinking our sorrows
We
away.
were in trouble. We
Yeah,
were
yeah.
in psychological
And
trouble.
what better to do when you're in this drunken psychologic stupor but to get behind the wheel of something,
Yeah.
right? To be fair, it was like within the gated property.
I
It was
agree
like
that
not
it's
on the
not a
road.
good
Buzz does
idea.
not condone this.
Yeah.
I agree that it's not a good idea to go out drinking and driving a car.
It's the most no.
But this is in the farm. This
Yeah,
is in the
this is
back
on
of
the
my
farm
parents'
property.
farm.
We weren't out on the streets or anything. It was still not a good idea, but we still went out in the truck. I've never gotten a vehicle as stuck as we got that
Yeah,
truck.
boy, she was a heavy pig.
Like I remember
That was a long bed 460, wasn't it?
No, that was the 430 diesel, the international
Oh,
diesel engine.
okay.
And I had put a what was the name of that differential? It's a clutch style limited slip that has
A Detroit two track.
no, the old school original equipment.
Oh, you're talking about the Ford original equipment.
Posi.
Yeah.
It had posi traction.
Yeah.
What happens is when the spider gears start to work against each other, they push outward and they push against clutch packs.
Yeah.
And it locks the two rear axles together. And
none of that mattered.
I had just put that in this truck, and because as a reward for letting the company that I worked for previous to this whole debacle was an axle company, and I tested a set of 455 gears in it. And as a return,
dang.
they let me throw in they'd let me throw in this carrier that had the positive traction.
Nice.
as a result. And when I got my 410 gears back, we just bolted it up to it.
So you good with rear axles and gears? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
As
long as you don't drive them through a swampy, muddy field.
Oh no, that's the entire intent behind this.
Yeah.
But you know what? You remember Skylar?
Oh yeah.
Skylar Bonneville? He can set up a diff like nobody I've ever met.
Yeah.
I mean, he spent so many years at Randy's. Like, I know everything about it, and I've set up diffs, but I've only set up, I think, 3 or 4.
I've set up 2.
I'm happy to set up anything you need.
Yeah, I set up 2. I can do it. I don't like
it's just
it.
a
I hate it.
Dude, differential oil is just the nastiest crap.
Oh, isn't it?
And whenever you go to change it, it's full of metal flakes that are just small enough so that they can get into your pores.
Yes.
They get into your skin.
Yes, it's the craft herpes of the automotive world.
You're right. It's like herpes.
Just like
It
it.
just messes up your skin.
And he would know, yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
right? That's what I was thinking.
You're wearing latex gloves, you're wearing nitrile gloves, you're wearing rubber gloves, whatever. It's finding a way into your skin somewhere.
The point of the truck story,
yeah,
though,
the truck story. Sorry. Let's get back to that.
is that this was like a 4x4. Like, it was high off the ground.
It was a pretty
like,
mean rig.
yeah.
I mean, a decent rig.
We
It
got
had
that
street
so
tires.
stuck that it was hard to open the doors because they were hitting the ground.
We had that thing
Like, it was
stuck
that
in shit.
low in the mud and muck. Like, you literally peeled the top layer of grass off when you opened the
Pumpkin
doors.
and pinion had been submerged.
Yeah, we rocked
Nice.
it.
That's a
We
good
did
way to ruin
everything we
opinion
could
zoo.
do. Yep. We
The
had
bumpers
to.
were sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
bumpers
yeah,
were
yeah.
actually
Oh, the
bumpers.
frame
and
of
the
the
frame
car was
the
sitting.
The frames were underneath. The bumpers were on the mud.
Yeah, like the whole thing. Like we could not have sunk it any lower.
I don't know how that happened. Like,
I-
normally I wouldn't let
we
things
were
get that far out of
wasted
hand.
and decided to drive around. That's what happened. But we spent. That is explanation for the whole event. But we spent like 3 hours trying to get it out, right? And then we went. My favorite part of the story is we went to my parents' house. The first time Walter ever met my parents as adults.
As adults.
And you had this big convoluted story about why we needed to borrow my dad's come along.
I didn't know what to expect with your folks.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we're like we're
gotta
in
be
our
careful
we're
when
in
you're
our
walking
20s, right? We can drink. It's not illegal for us to
Yeah,
drink.
but
Nothing
we're
we did
also-
was illegal.
We're also in psychological states where our parents are probably looking at us all of a sudden the way that they looked at us when we were children again.
Oh,
because
for
we're
sure. Yes,
Extraordinarily
yes.
vulnerable. We
Well,
were
yeah.
both doing really stupid shit often.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I had access to tractors. If you had just contacted me,
No, we didn't know you yet. Yeah.
we knew each other. We just didn't know each other.
Yeah, we didn't know. We hadn't
Yes.
reached our full circle point
Yes,
yet.
I understand that. I'm just saying, I would have totally just come up there with a tractor and pulled you out.
Yeah, I just
had a
loved
tractor.
I loved the story Walter came up with about why it was stuck, and then when we went to leave, I remember just being like, "Why didn't you just tell them we were drunk in the back field and we got a truck stuck?" And he's like, "I'm not telling your parents that. I've never met them." The next day when I showed up, my dad was like, "What really happened?" Well, this is not what happened. Like, what were you guys really doing? I was like, "Yeah, we got drunk and drove around in the back field and got the truck stuck." And your neighbor got us out. We ruined my dad's come along. We had to buy him a new come along.
We did get him a new come along, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
you have a
bent,
nice
we
chain
bent
one, or
the
is it
crap out of
crappy?
that come along. A
Oh,
cable,
yeah.
Okay,
cable,
good.
crappy one.
Yeah. We were the handle bent over.
Yeah,
That's
like
what
we
happened.
Nice.
we muscled it so much that we were just bending the handle and it wasn't moving anything. Yeah, it was pretty
That's
bad.
I don't know how the hell that.
That's
got
really
so
stuck.
That was so stuck. I've
That
never
was
been
like-
in a vehicle that was that stuck.
That was like pounds worth.
There you go.
It was like
got it.
I guess I'll make a
swamp silt
Yeah,
is what that shit was.
bye. I guess
Way
we
to
should
bail
make
on
a-
us, Jack.
Make a formal exit because I am, the most important.
he's got to go to work. He's an adult now.
Yeah. Am I?
Um,
Are you paying for your own car now?
I wouldn't make anybody say that.
yeah. You're almost an adult, Jack.
Yeah.
We'll get you
Close.
there.
All right.
Um,
I believe in you.
so we got a few minutes left in the show. I'm gonna just keep drinking beer, I think.
I still have a lot
you guys-
to go with these two.
Well, I thought you got more questions, man.
Do you guys want another question? Want me to
course.
just fuel questions and you guys
yeah,
can talk?
it's working great.
Yeah,
We're
because
drunk
I've asked
now,
so
and
many.
So
We are.
Um,
I'm not.
I'm buzzed.
how
I get a
about
little bit.
I'm
uh,
lightening up. My tolerances It's funny because I still have a taste for it all, but my tolerance is starting to. Yeah, I know.
You gotta drink more.
Less of a man.
It's true. It's true. Get those balls back. So I think there's something, in case we run out of time or something, there's something we have to talk about as far as the driving with the cars.
Understeer?
Because Walter's here. And that is, what the hell is the deal with you and video games and getting so car sick?
Lack of control.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Is that what it boils? Do you
Yeah,
have to
I can't
drive?
control when something's changing direction. And when that happens, my mind says, no.
So do you have to drive in a car?
Yeah.
That was what I was wondering. Like, can you ever be passenger in a car, or do you, like, instantly get car sick?
I can, but it's like, it doesn't take much. It's a hiccup of the right foot that'll make me car sick.
I'd wondered that. It's like, it's got to translate to the real world.
Yeah, I mean, it's worse in the real world. Well,
like when we played
No,
Borderlands, we literally played maybe 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes is generous. And you were like going to barf.
yeah,
Yeah, it was that bad.
that's 100% truth. Yeah.
Yeah. That game worse than any other. And I think it's because that game moves so smooth.
I thought that when I first started playing Andromeda again, I was worried that it was going to cause it. And it causes it after like an hour and a half. Like after an hour and a half, I have to step away because I realize, something's creeping up. And man, getting that to go away is so much harder than giving it the freedom to enter my brain. It's so hard to make that go away.
Yeah.
You can take a cold shower for 3 hours and you'll still feel it afterwards.
So the only thing that seems to cause that for me is when I was younger, happened all the time when I was in the back of a minivan. I don't know what it was.
Backwards or forwards?
Forwards, but right over the rear axle. So it's like this weird pivot point.
Yep.
I don't know what it was every time.
Yeah, no matter what. Every
Full
corner
size
you're
van.
going around, you're going wide
A
because you're over
full-si-
the back axle.
A full-size van didn't do it, but the minivans, for some reason, the way that they pivoted and turned or whatever, I don't know. Maybe it's because the way the car
It's
suspension
probably because the rear seat was behind the rear axle.
could have been. I don't know.
Every single corner is going wide. Even though the car's not going wide, you are.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It did it to me every time. You put me in the front middle seats or the front seats, no problem. But the back seats of the minivan every single time. And if I am piloting, if I'm in an aircraft and I'm the one that's in control, I will make myself sick.
Huh. I definitely.
Have you flown a plane? Have you flown planes?
I've got about almost 3 hours of flight time.
I've none.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
It blows away my zero.
If you've had your hand on the controlling object of an airplane while it was in air.
Oh, our producer's back.
Producer Holly's in.
It was 2 times in a 2 separate, but they're both 170s Cessnas, and then another one was in a Piper Cherokee.
So you've flown 2 Cessnas in the Piper, which means you at some point were intending to get your pilot's license.
I still kind of am, but
No
yeah.
shit. That's impressive, man.
It's way more flying I've ever done.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, the one time that I was in control and didn't have any problems was the Cherokee, and that's a low wing aircraft versus a high wing.
I've never heard of a Cherokee.
The Piper Cherokee, it's
Piper Cherokee. Okay.
yeah, the Piper Cherokee. It's got the low wing.
I've heard of Piper.
Yeah, well, you're probably thinking Piper Cub, which is another high wing aircraft. Never been in one of those, but the Cherokee, it's your standard aluminum fuselage cabin with the low wings. Flying that one, it was something about the way the aircraft moved. And
Yeah, they're
everything.
totally different. I mean, your pivot point.
Well, yeah, your pivot point is your ass in the
Yeah.
Cherokee versus above your head.
Yeah, exactly.
In the other one. And I don't know what, with me controlling the aircraft in the 170s, I made myself sick both times.
No kidding.
Got me in the Cherokee, man. I'm just like, let's go here, let's go over here, let's go this way, oh, down, yeah, no problems. No problems whatsoever.
Huh.
And that thing was so much smoother in the air, too. Like, it was so much less susceptible to
With
bucking.
the fuselage is riding on the wing as opposed to being held up by it.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, like I don't, maybe it's just been the day that I was flying. I don't know, but it was so much less susceptible to the bucking of of the air and stuff that was around there. And also, granted, between flying the 170s to the Cherokee, I was talking to somebody else who was a seasoned pilot, and I was explaining what was going on and everything else, and they're like, just let it fly. Because whenever it would buck or move or something, I wanted to correct for it. Mm-hmm. You know? And they're like, no, just let it fly. Just put it where you want it, point in the direction you want it to go, let it buck and move. It'll do it. It'll find its way back.
Which I think can make you sick in a video game even.
Yes.
I totally think it can.
Exactly. And that's my problem with first-person shooters is letting it overcorrecting for everything. And,
yeah.
You know, or like when you guys get freaking missile happy in a mission in Gran Turismo or Grand Theft Auto, and I'm trying to like aim, and all of a sudden the screen's all...
Yeah.
And I'm like...
Yeah. Well, and like my wife, Kristen, instantly car sick from a game. And I think, it's that lack of control. Like, she's overcorrecting so much that it's so wishy-washy for her that it just immediately makes her sick.
And that's what I think was going on with the piloting.
Yeah.
Because as soon as between the times that I went, somebody was like, yeah, just let it fly.
Yeah.
Don't correct it, let it fly. And sure enough, it bucks around a little bit and then comes right back.
Yeah.
It was great, and it was smooth, and I didn't get sick at all.
Should we...
But it felt completely different, too, having the pivot point different.
Yeah, I would imagine that it would. One, you're sitting on top, and the other one, you're, like, hanging from it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Should we wrap up the show, our after party, with if you could have, like, money's not really an object, or time, or whatever, you could have, what car, if you could go get it, what would that car be?
What's your dream car?
Yeah, like, what is the dream car?
Number one, regardless of how many cars in the garage, what's the number one?
So first of all, my garage would be like a 300-car garage, but that's besides the point.
But if you had to narrow it down,
the first one that
what
went in
would
there.
be that one? Yeah,
money's not an option. I won the lottery. First one that went in my garage.
Yeah.
There's another rule that I like to kick in here. Is this your only car?
Ooh.
In other words, when I'm picking up my wife's medicine at the girls'
No. You've already You've already got your daily drivers that are whatever you've got.
Yeah, it's a dream.
My favorite dream car has always been the same car.
It's always been the same car. Mm-hmm. So it would also be your daily driver. I don't think that's irrelevant. We're just talking about what car.
Difficult. This would not be a car that you'd want to take.
No. Just
into the snow.
If we throw everything into the wind and it doesn't matter, but you could be in your ultimate fantasy behind the wheel and have that car, whatever the ideal scenario, everything is aligned perfectly for you for this to be ideal. What is that car? What's that car that you just love to be behind the wheel?
I really need to answer that because it's a long answer.
Okay,
let's get out there. Get it out there. Let's hear it.
So in the 50s, Jag was dominant in racing, beating Maserati, Lamborghini, Ferrari. And they decided all of a sudden to pull out. And they were, at the time, mass producing these race cars that were just kicking the pants off of everything. And it was called the D-Type. And what they did is they took the D-Type chassis that they had left over. And
make sure people can hear you now.
Sorry. Anyway, they took the D-Type chassis when they decided to pull out of race.
You didn't fix anything.
I didn't fix anything?
No. There you go.
There
you go. I want to make sure
now
people
I'm
can hear your
pointing to
story. Let's talk about your fantasies.
Anyway.
The D-Type.
Not
I
those fantasies.
I love that his fantasy's a D-Type.
Yeah, actually. Any fantasy, whether it's murdering people who drive Priuses or pilots or whatever, or sexual escapades or whatnot. Yeah, my fantasies end and stop at this car. And it is the Super Sport. They took those D-Types, when they pulled out of racing, they said, we're going to focus on public vehicles. And they kicked it off by taking all these extra parts for these ridiculously fast race cars that were just killing everything. They put chrome bumpers on them. They put a heat guard over the exhaust pipe. They put a luggage rack over the back. They put leather seats in it. And they put a windshield on it. And that's where it stops. It still had the original racing Dunlop tires.
Nice.
In like 54, this car did 0 to 60 almost as quickly as my E46 M3 does.
So what, 4.5, 5 seconds?
5.5.
Okay.
It did 0 to 60 in 5.5. It was still in second gear when it hit 60. And it had a top speed of 160 plus.
Wow, in the 50s.
Damn.
Yeah, in the
That's
freaking
impressive.
50s. We didn't touch that again for a civilian vehicle until the late 80s.
Yeah.
Either of those numbers, top speed or 0 to 60. And they made 16 of them before the factory burned down and killed all those parts, destroyed all those parts.
Damn.
So the super number one, and I almost would relate back to that fantasy car question in the previous episode, would be like Steve McQueen's Super Sport. He had one. It was blue with a red interior. I think it was blue with a red interior.
Awful combination, but amazing
don't
car.
care. The thing
Exactly.
could be hot pink with cheetah,
I agree.
cheetah print interior, and I would
Dude,
I would murder
you
school
would drive-
buses full of babies.
you would drive any car with that was hot pink with
I
a cheetah
would
print
do
interior.
unspeakable things.
We know you
for
would.
one drive in that car.
Yeah.
Anyway, that car actually still exists. It's in a museum where they take it out once a month and they drive it around the roof of the museum for like 4 laps, and then they bring it back in and park it.
So do you think
Ralph Lauren owns 2.
so is
course
part of the appeal of that car is that you would get to experience like raw, pure, like unbridled performance in its truest sense?
I believe it is the first of the supercars. I believe it is the actual first supercar.
Yeah. Like everything
And it
after it
is-
was based on that.
it
You're getting
is
to ride
as
it
raw.
drive it at phase 1.
As any car could ever be.
Yeah.
It's super. When you shift the gears. So I've driven a lot of E-Types and a lot of XK120s and some of the other performance vehicles from Jag at the time. My grandfather was really into Jags. So when you were playing with your Bug, I was actually rebuilding an XK120 with my grandfather because
Nice.
I had pneumonia and mono and one other thing at the same time. So like, I was like instant death to my baby sister. So I literally lived with my grandparents for like 3 years as a child. And he was.
Think you would be instant death for your grandparents.
They were fine. My grandparents were really resilient until they got into their like 80s, and then it was just lights out.
Yeah.
But
Rest in peace.
yeah. I suppose I have my grandfather to thank for my obsession. That's for sure. Because my old man doesn't like
freaking
cars
awesome.
at all.
I think your answer's great. I think that's such a sweet answer because it's not there's nothing cliche about it,
Yeah,
which is cool.
it's not a Bugatti Veyron. It's not a McLaren 570S.
Yeah,
It's
or like the Lambo or whatever, just whatever, some cliche, whatever.
Yeah,
It's not the car that's on a poster.
I
in
would
some
say-
teenage boy's room growing
Yeah.
up, right? It's not that car.
I would say a very popular car would be the Miura, but that's
The Daihatsu Miura?
God. Tell me that didn't happen.
Well, you just said that, so
Really?
what?
Did a Daihatsu Miura? No.
Mira.
Miura.
Yes.
That's what you said, right? No?
No, it's different.
Miura is different from Miura.
Yes.
Okay.
I had to put it out there, though.
Yeah. What about you, Jay? Your ultimate fantasy dream car?
Ultimate fantasy dream car. Okay, so if my dream car garage was one car.
It doesn't matter. This is
that's-
ultimate fantasy.
That's
You're in
no.
dreamland.
I mean, it's like so like the number one. I won the lottery. I've already got my cars. I got, and I love them. And then I'm going to get this one car because I'm going to buy more than one car because I won the lottery. In fact, I'd be like homeless on the street, but have a garage that I rent and has all sorts of amazing cars. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You and I have both been there.
but
This is how Bob Louie and I think when we're on the toilet.
exactly. My number one dream car would be one of the original 1964 Monte Carlo rally cars for Mini.
No kidding.
Yes.
We could build that.
Oh, I know we could build that, but I'm just saying that is actually like my number one dream car. I want one of those so bad.
Let's ditch the Mercure and just build that then.
Well, I want the Mercure too,
That's in the garage.
Because
and that one's
let's-
not a fantasy because he has it.
Because let's be honest here, the Mercure could still be competitive in rally today and meet the safety standards.
If we put a Coyote motor in it, yeah.
I have a 4.6 liter sitting out there right now that's putting out about 320 horse.
That would be a mean little pig.
Oh yeah. But no, seriously, it's something that could still be competitive today. The Mercure, the 1964s with the safety standards and everything that there are now, wouldn't be. With that, I mean, that's how they got. That's how Ferrari and everybody else got them out of their way.
Yeah.
Was safety standards. I mean,
Creating regulations.
They created regulations they couldn't
GM
meet.
is well known for.
Yeah, well, it was that they created regulations that they couldn't meet, and therefore were no longer viable as a race vehicle in the industry. But the fact that for 2 years in a row, they came in and just spanked everybody. I mean, they finished 1, 2, 3, like 6 minutes ahead of everybody else. It was just phenomenal how, not just how that they beat everybody else, how badly they beat everybody else.
So you guys are both your fantasy cars would be a car that proved itself in a race, like beyond all the rest.
Actually, the XKSS was never raced.
Yeah, the XKS was the result of racing.
Yeah, it was a strictly civilian car.
Yeah.
But it would trump the crap out of supercars, Italian supercars, years and years, decades and decades to come.
Yeah, and I'd say the probably the next car that would go into my garage though, after that, has no race history, no nothing. It's purely just the aesthetics of how well this car pulled it off. Is the 76 V8 Vantage.
V8.
Aston Martin V8 Vantage.
Oh, the Vantage. Yeah.
It everything that I love about the Shelby Mustangs.
Yeah.
But it takes everything I love about the Shelby Mustangs and it just refines them. It.
And not to mention the fact that when you took a Vantage around a road course, the doors didn't swing open on accident.
Yeah, that's never a good thing.
Well, it had that Rover V8 versus the American V8, but still, it's a great engine, and they've done a lot with it.
But I mean, well, the original Rover V8 was an American V8. I think it was developed by Chrysler.
Was it?
And Chrysler said, we're not going to do anything with this thing. It's too small. And like Shelby, or was it MG? Yeah, it was MG.
Yeah, MG.
Chassis that they dropped it into. Like, holy shit, this thing's quick. And and they just kept that engine, and they kept refining it and refining it.
Aston got a hold of it, and they refined it out. It was
everybody had a hold of it. Rover, everything that Rover had an option for that engine.
Yeah, it was like, I want to say it was like 4.8 liters or something at that point in time. I can't remember now exactly, but
yeah, it was a smaller displacement, and it never got that big.
Yeah.
I think it was a Chrysler. I thought it was Chrysler's.
It might be, but
it was an American V8 that the Americans said, "Nah, we're going to sell this."
Okay.
And the English,
the British got a hold of it.
Said, "Well, it's the only big thing we've ever seen that works." So, and they bought it and they kept tweaking it, and Land Rovers up until the LR2, used that engine.
Yeah, before they went to the modular motor that Ford uses. They used a version of.
And that's a very interesting point, because that engine was developed alongside of other Englishmen who were developing that V8.
Yes, and that was the Jaguar V8.
And they kept going, because it was Cosworth that really helped out with those Ford V8s. Mm-hmm. And they side by side, and the Rover V8, being old as it was, still held up.
Yep.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
But that's like I said, it's purely aesthetics, and it all stems from when I was in New York, touring a car museum, and a guy had donated his private collection for a 2-year period or whatever to this car museum, and it was this car that it was stripped of all of his badging, and it was just this beautiful car, and I'm just like, that is a Shelby Mustang. but it's not a Shelby Mustang. What is this? And the more I walked around this car without reading the placard, because I was just an idiot kid at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I walked around this car like 3 or 4 times, because, I mean, every car in this museum, I'm like going, oh, that's a this or this, whatever, it's got this engine in it, whatever, yeah. You know, I don't care, it's this, they've done this since then so much better. Which I would totally not do that now, because I appreciate what those were then, but then I was just an idiot teenager.
So it was the mystery.
Yeah, it was a mystery at first, and I'm walking around this, but it's everything, absolutely everything that I loved about the Shelby Mustangs, and none of the stuff that I hated.
Yeah.
None of the stuff I hated.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was everywhere there was a line that I hated on the Shelby. It was smoothed out and just beautiful. It was gorgeous.
They built beautiful cars.
It
the
looked
English.
right. It looked awesome.
English built the E-Type.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the ESS.
Exactly.
Some of the most beautiful cars ever.
The interior was Spartan, but still looked elegant. I don't know how else to put it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was nothing that didn't need to be there was.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. So it's funny. One of my favorites is the Aston Martins of the '90s, and it may be because we couldn't get them here, but they took that Vantage V8, and that car looked the same through like '89. Like they started that body style in '78, I think, and they kept that body style like throughout the '80s, and then when they went to the new body style to compete with BMW at that point was starting to build big, fast vehicles, and so they decided, okay, we're going to make it a bit wider. We're going to take some of these beautiful curves and we're going to make them angular. And the thing needs to have a big ass. That's what's in right now. Big asses.
Yes.
Thank you, Countach. We want to see 18 miles of tire under the back of the car, and that's when they came up with their '90s. Aston Martins, and that's something that I've always been desperate for because
Those were awesome. The Bond movies definitely helped that out when we were in the 90s.
I don't think I've ever seen any
like the
movie.
M3?
I've never actually seen one in person moving. All I see is like pictures of them in classic car exotics and trader, like European trader magazines.
Well, the Bond movies had the Vanquish in there when they went to that new Montague chassis.
Like the DB7.
Yeah. Yep. They went to that style, and that was the that's what they had in the Bonds.
Well, maybe someday in the next decade we should go in and co-own an Aston Martin because I'd probably.
Those are actually
they're cheap.
They're relatively easy to attain now.
Exactly. That's my point. I don't know if I'd want to own one alone.
Just for maintenance purposes alone.
I'd like to share the risks.
Yeah.
We need to do an oil change. You got another $4,000 in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's pounds, by the way.
Oh, that stitching's come out. You're going to need a motor on that.
Oh my god.
Do you want to hear my dream car?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
It's going to solidify us all as assholes. Okay, in our own way. We all know that I can be and that I am, but not behind the wheel as much as you guys.
No, you're just way more forward with
But
it.
the
if
one,
we got you
yeah,
on a
right.
track for a year, you'd be worse than us.
Probably.
Oh, probably. I totally agree with that. I would go full on into it,
And
and
you
I
could
would
kick the crap out of either one of us just
I'm pretty
because
sure.
you weigh 100 pounds less.
Yeah,
than
that's
one of
probably
us.
That's
true.
very
also.
true.
Yeah.
And look at his reaction times on the games. He does have a higher reaction time point.
That's true. Yeah, you're totally right. His synaptic reaction time is much quicker than mine.
Yes.
Well,
I'm still shooting into the sky.
but in my dream car, even if you guys are driving yours, I could just be stopped and parked, and I'm a way bigger asshole than you guys are. And my dream car,
We will not argue this at all.
yeah.
He either wants an Escalade or an H2.
I don't want any of those. I want like I don't know if it's like the Smokey and the Bandit one, but I want like is it the Camaro or the Firebird? Because I want the bird on the hood.
That's the
Well,
Firebird.
we-
And I want
Well, if
I
you
want
need
the
the
little
bird on the hood, it
scoop
has to be a
that pokes
Trans Am.
out, and I want the exhaust on the sides, and I want the T-top, and I want it to be gold.
So you want a 1975 Pontiac Trans Am.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And I want it to be gold.
with side exhaust.
And I want
T-tops.
with T-tops.
well, that's why I said 75
Yeah, I
instead of
know.
76.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they offer the T-tops.
And
in
I want
76.
I never followed him or cared about him enough to know the years on those.
I know. I care about them enough to call them all Transmero birds, but
yeah. And I want
Thank you. I'm
Def
gonna remember
Leppard
I
playing
own one,
really
though.
loud in it.
that. On an 8-track.
Yeah.
On an 8-track.
Oh,
It
sure.
better be an 8-track.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever it is, I want Def Leppard
whatever it
playing
is,
in
I'm going
it.
to have to blow on the inside of it before I jam it into the dashboard.
But it can't
Yeah.
go in
Before
all
it
the way
plays
because you
3
got to see it
songs,
still
and
there.
then I have to do that whole song and dance.
Yeah,
over
yeah.
again.
And I don't even have to move, and I just want everybody to look at me and go, look at that asshole. And I'll be that guy.
You want to be
Dude, there
judged
was an
instantly.
old lady.
Yeah.
There was an old lady that had a 455 Trans Am here in town. It was gold. You remember?
I'm so jealous.
There wasn't.
was-
I don't remember who had one, but I remember seeing one around town.
Ridiculously fantastic in shape.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't Harvey. That's who I thought it was for the longest time.
Yeah.
But
No, I remember that one had like. I remember first thing I noted on it is all the chrome trim work that went around the windows and stuff was perfect on it.
yeah, everything was in
Yes.
beautiful shape. Like it was like showroom condition. Screaming chicken,
Yeah.
full flag.
Oh, yeah.
Ready
No,
to
I
go.
want all
If I
that.
remember correctly,
Yeah.
though, the graphic did have checking in it a little bit, which just meant it was the original graphic.
I guess maybe I never looked at it that close. I remember that Trans Am was fully legible in the
Yes.
in the
Yes, it
fenders.
was. It
And
was.
it had the big, huge, massive air vents like the 76 had. I don't think it was a 76 though.
I don't know. I didn't.
What I want.
And
It's
it
my
wasn't
dream, you guys.
It wasn't a T-top.
Someday, that's
so
my dream.
So we discussed how my dream is very attainable and buildable, and we discussed how his is not
Completely
obtainable.
not, and I've met
but
one in real
awesome.
life, and I'll never see one again.
You know what?
Yeah.
You don't even have to build yours. You can just go buy yours today.
Yeah, yes.
We could go buy yours too, but it would take us 3 years to build it.
I would say we would
But
have
then
to
it won't
build
be
it.
a dream. Part of mine is the fantasy and the lore of the whole experience.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell you would do with a Trans Am.
I would
you do
sit there
realize-
just with it running and idling and step on the gas
I
from
can
time to
tell
time.
you, it has some of the most comfortable seats I have ever experienced.
I wouldn't know. I've never
slept
sat
in
in
the
one.
back of 2.
I've never sat in one.
I've slept in the back of 1 twice.
Yeah, no, that would be my
So,
ultimate dream car because it'd be so ridiculous. It'd be awesome.
If you do this, okay, if you ever have that car,
Uh-huh.
you have to promise me one thing.
I already said Def Leppard will be playing.
Okay, no, you have to promise me one thing.
Mullet,
No, no mullet.
but that's gonna happen too.
No mullet.
Sweet kick-ass mustache.
You gotta do the perm and mustache again.
Okay, yeah, I would do that
You
with
have-
the mullet though. I'll do the perm with the mullet style, and then like maybe a little shorter over the
You're
ears.
just trying to recreate your avatar.
Yeah, right.
Have-
Yes,
have-
yes.
Have you seen his Christmas card with the perm and the
No, I
mustache?
saw a picture that his wife sent me while he was sitting on the couch, all passed out and shit, and it was really dark, and I couldn't really see.
Oh no, their Christmas card picture is great. He's got like the grin and everything and
I
the
didn't-
mustache.
It's a
I didn't get
legitimate
Christmas card.
perm.
I'm not that
Yeah, it's a
Christmas.
legitimate perm. Yeah, it
It's-
tells you where you're at.
It
your
was
friend
great.
status.
It was the greasy curls and everything. It was
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was pretty good. It would have looked amazing in my Trans Am, which I will get someday. Someday.
So what's the rules here? What are we doing? What's the...
You guys get to end the show. I'm gonna let you do it because you're the car guys.
All right.
You guys end the show, and I'll do Jack's job over here because he's not reliable.
Because he's got a real job.
Yeah, because he's got a life.
Oh my god.
All right.
You doing okay over
send us
there?
out.
It's a metal thing. I like playing with metal things.
Oh, okay. I just thought you had handling rods and twisting them a little bit. All right. So anyway, what beers were we drinking? We had some Hog Heaven.
Hog Heaven from the Avery Brewing Company.
Which thank you for bringing, by the way. It's actually pretty darn good.
That's my favorite brewery.
Is it?
Yep.
Nice. We'll have to go check it out sometime.
I thought they were supposed to be in Oregon,
Are they? Well,
but I don't think they are anymore. I think
Damn
they're
it.
now in Wyoming or something, or Colorado.
seriously. Wow.
Just cheers the beer already.
What the hell, man? Get over it.
We had a very aggressive IPA, and we had
A very well balanced IPA, which is delicious, and another one that I like a lot.
Maybe soft is a harsh word for
It's
it.
got a lot of the cedar flavors from the Northwest. It's very Northwest.
Man, that's a bland IPA.
It's easy to drink.
Yes. If the person...
It's great for GTA
If for
2
some
things.
reason
not-
you had to
and
shove
it's
an
not
IPA
bland,
down the throat
Walter.
of somebody who didn't like IPAs, that's perfect.
It's not bland. It's what an IPA, like traditional, kind of bare bones. You like a 13% anything.
Yes, this is a traditional Northwest IPA, like all the way around right here.
I feel a traditional Northwest IPA is going to have more Cascadia in it. And it's going to it's going to make you feel like you need to go to the dentist tomorrow. Because it feels like your teeth are throbbing from the one sip you had of it. And this is not that.
The teeth throbbing would be all the sugar in the malt of the 13% IPA you just had. Anyway, to all the nerds.
I don't think it's bad. But
Through all the fuzz. Bottoms up. Let's get nerd buzzed. Cheers.
cheers.
Such a late explosion.
Way to go.
Yeah.
Are we going to do the outro already? There it is.
Talking about beer, talking about nerd
Clearly that's
culture.
Jack's job.
Yeah, Nerdbuzzed.
Miss you, Jack.
Marcus and Jeremiah.
Try
Is that
You're
not
on Nerdbuzzed.
Did you open a beer or are you finishing it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, then it's not.
Let's get
last
Nerdbuzzed.
week's.
Yeah.